I'm holding a vacuum door lock actuator from a 1981 300 TD Mercedes diesel station wagon. And people who have not been around these old Mercedes may be surprised to learn that the door locks work on vacuum. No, they're not electric. They don't use electric solenoids that click the locks open and close like many other cars. They use vacuum. And the vacuum is supplied to this, and it goes up and down, and that's what locks and unlocks the doors. And you know, I've done a couple other videos on vacuum door locks, but I want to show those of you who are new to these older Mercedes with vacuum door locks, I want to show you what one of these looks like up close, and then explain kind of how it works. And then I'm going to show you, using a vacuum hand pump tester like you see here, how I can test to make sure that this particular one is okay. This one here came out of the front passenger door. This is the actuator housing. There's a diaphragm inside this plastic piece. This bolts along the bottom edge inside the door. And then there's this long rod that goes up and attaches to the rods going to the door lock. So what has to happen when vacuum is applied, notice there are two vacuum connections on the W123 actuators. This one, by the way, is out of a later W123. The early style, 1980 and older, are a little bit different design. Once again, you have two vacuum connections here. There's little elbows, and these are connected to vacuum lines that run throughout the car. And when the vacuum is applied to one side, it pulls it down. When vacuum is applied to the other side, it pushes it up. So you can see how this rod is moving in and out, and you can hear the suction as I move the rod. So to test this, I'm going to apply this vacuum hose from my hand pump tester to one end, and I'm going to bring this into the scene so you can watch the vacuum here as I apply it. Okay, this is pulling it down. Notice I've pumped up about 20 inches of vacuum. Now I'm going to watch very closely. See that? Notice the needle is not moving. If the needle moves and this leaks down, make sure your tester is not leaking. But if it leaks, then this part here is going to have to be replaced. Now I can release the vacuum. I'll plug this into the other side of the actuator. Now watch what happens as I pump the tester. See the rod coming up? Coming up, coming up. It'll lock into place, and then I'm going to pump it right back up to 20 inches, and I'm going to let that sit for a while. Notice it's not moving at all. So what I've just shown you here is I'm happy. I have a good working actuator for the right front door. Usually the problems are this piece, the diaphragm inside cracks or tears, and it does not hold vacuum. Another problem you run into is this spring mechanism right here on the end. When it pulls out, the spring should flip over center and lock in position, and when it pushes down, it should flip over and lock into position. This allows you to manually lock the doors even if the rod is extended. So if those springs are broken, you might have problems with the door locks not working properly. I should also mention there is a way to adjust the rod. Notice it's threaded here, and I can turn the rod like this in and out to get fine adjustment. So there's a possibility if your door locks aren't working properly, going either all the way open or all the way closed, you might want to check the adjustment. Notice how I can turn this rod in probably over ½ an inch. And if you buy a new actuator, it's not going to come with a rod, and the way you change the rod is there's a little plastic clip here, and you can just open the clip, see that? And then you can remove the rod. So the rod can be taken out completely, and then when you install the rod, you just push it down in the plastic, lock the clip into place, and then once again, you can turn the rod in and out to adjust this length here. So when you're replacing yours with a new actuator, take note of how many threads are showing and put it back in that position, and then find tune the adjustment accordingly. I know what some of you are thinking. Well, can't I replace this part in one of my doors, or maybe two of my doors, and my door locks still don't work? What am I going to do? Well, I wish it was always as easy as just replacing one or two of these actuators, but it's not, because the system is quite complicated. Not so much complicated as it gets old, and there are a number of key components that can raise havoc, including old and leaking vacuum lines, worn vacuum pump, other situations within the door locks that can create problems such as the switching mechanism or the reservoir tank, or maybe you could even cut a line accidentally in behind some of the carpet. And the lines run all over the car, by the way. You might also, as a side note, you might be interested to note that you don't really need to remove the door panels to test these. There's ways to get under the carpets and find the right lines and get this vacuum hand pump tester on them, and you can kind of test the doors without tearing everything apart. Now, what I've done is I've written a manual. I have a manual on my website that goes through the whole W123 chassis door lock system, how to troubleshoot it, how to isolate problems, and so on. We do carry these actuators, although you want to make sure the actuator is bad before you order parts. So if you want to learn more about how that door lock system works, now remember, once again, it might not be the door lock system. It might be the vacuum pump in the engine is bad. Or you might have some major leaks up in the engine compartment. Once again, any major leaks in the system can prevent vacuum from getting to the actuators to lock and unlock the doors. So it's not just a matter of testing one thing. The whole system needs to be checked and tested out. So I invite you to visit my website if you want more information, want to learn how to troubleshoot this system yourself. It can be very expensive, by the way, to take this into a shop and have them fix your door locks, because if they're not really familiar with the system, they can spend a lot of time, trying to find the leaks or the worn parts. So it's really better to learn how to fix this yourself, learn how to troubleshoot it. And once again, as I've said many, many times in my other videos, in order to adequately troubleshoot a system like the W123 vacuum door locks, you need to understand the theory of operation, how it works, and what the key components are. If you want to learn that, just go to my website. I have lots of resources at Mercedessource.com.